Hi, Dennis Weiss. Welcome to our town. Got my favorite uniform on this morning. Got Jeff Dawson, my good friend, sitting by my side. We have our Wranglers, we have our boots, and we're just pretty darn comfortable this morning. So you know we're talking about cowboy poetry.
That's right. Appreciate you having me, Dennis.
You betcha.
Good to see you. Happy New Year.
So I see we both added a little hair this winter.
Yeah.
We might need a summer haircut before we get together here in August.
You know, the retro thing is in style.
Is it?
I'm thinking, you know, early 80s, this is probably what it would have looked like.
Well, I looked like a lot of things in the early 80s, I'm pretty sure.
All right.
So we're down at the Shockey and Landis building.
That's right.
Which is a gift in its own just to sit here and set a camera up. But we're here because every year, and we can say that now, the National Cowboy Poetry Rodeo shows up to Abilene, Kansas. You call this the Queen of the Cowtowns.
Exactly.
And we put on the group, but you put on, I don't put on much of a show, but we as a community put on a heck of a show for everybody that wants to come watch.
You know what, it's an event we're really proud of, especially here at the Shockey and Landis, you know, oldest building here in Abilene, historic building.
A cathedral of economic prosperity.
That's right.
It really is. You have to come see it if you want to know about the economic history of Abilene.
Yeah, and we have cowboy poets and cowgirl poets.
Sure enough.
Come from all over the country to come here to the Shockey and Landis and perform and compete for lots of cash and prizes.
And it's, as if you haven't seen it, we're here to hope to get you to come. But as we have said many times, it really is a look back into history.
Yeah.
Through the eyes of people who are still living a portion of that life today. Because many of the poems we hear are real life stories about what that person has lived in their life.
Right.
There's some look back into history too, but it's all fantastic.
Yeah, it's great stuff. People are very talented, high level of competition, and I've got something to tell you.
Okay,
because,
better tighten up my scarf, Glenn.
I've had people contact me, people that's been here before, and say they left Abilene inspired and wrote new poetry and stories from being here at the Shockey and Landis and being in the Queen of Cowtowns, Abilene, Kansas, and so it's a multifaceted thing. So
I should probably tell you why you're here. I sent a note out to groups here in Abilene that I knew had big plans for our town in 2019, and the National Cowboy Poetry Rodeo in 2019 again is a big thing for our community. So I'm starting the publicity wars early this year.
Awesome.
To talk about things that are going to be great and give people a chance to put it on their calendar, and to invite that relative from Vermont, South Carolina, any of those people that you know have the travel schedule. That month is going to be a good month for Abilene.
It'll be a lot of fun. First weekend in August, and we'll compete right here at the Shockey and Landis building. We'll adjourn at night to let all of our contestants go enjoy the Wild Bill Hickok Rodeo, and everybody just loves coming here. Yeah,
so that's Fair Week, that's Rodeo Week, and that's also National Cowboy Poetry Rodeo Week.
Yes, yes.
So we start out and have a wonderful time for about 2.5 days of fun and adventure, both here, and last year we put on a show at Great Plains Theater. I haven't talked about that yet, but we might do it again if you think it's a good idea.
You know, we didn't get in too much trouble last time, so I wouldn't be opposed to that. But yeah, we come here on Thursday, and all of our contestants check in. Then we participate in the parade downtown, and have a poets trailer, and then we start our competition on Friday, and we go through the poets. They do their first round of poetry, and then the top 50% come back on Saturday, and then we finish up, and then we do a matinee show in the afternoon featuring all the winners from around the country that win the contest here, and a headline entertainer.
So people are watching this going, cowboy poetry, what in the world can be cowboy poetry? So I can tell you, if you fit into this group of people, cowboy poetry is not for you. I mean, if you hate to laugh, it's not for you.
Right.
If being inspired is not your gig, this isn't for you. And if you don't like to see the cream of the crop get up in front of other people and do what they do, then it isn't for you. But if the opposite of that is true, boy, is this for you.
Yeah, you know, and we've got some people coming already this year that has called, and one I know you know, he was here a couple of years ago, Ron McDaniel.
Oh, he's coming back.
And Ron's always had a conflict because he works for Merck Animal Health, and their national convention is that week. Well, they changed their national convention. He says, I'm coming to Abilene.
I didn't really believe his excuse last year. I was fully convinced that he'd been captured by aliens
Right.
so they could understand the humor of the human species here. That guy is funny. He just stands, he walks up to the front of the stage,
Yeah.
looks at the microphone, and I start to smile.
Yeah, you know, and they have their whole family's planning a vacation, you know, to come to Abilene, and that's a pretty common thing. You know, we've got a family from Great Bend, Kansas, that came here just for this, the first year we had it here, and then they've planned their family vacation every year after that to come here and go to the rodeo and the fair.
So do you think that young man from Nebraska with his 2 little boys is going to be back this year?
Boy, I haven't heard from him, but it sure would be good.
I would think he would have every reason to want to come back.
Yeah. He did really well last year.
If you think of his name, feel free. I can't think of his name, but I'm telling you, young guy, as I talked to him before the competition started, he just thought he'd like to come, thought it would be fun, you know,
Yeah.
and I mean, that was about it. But that kid walked up there and threw fastballs right down the middle of the
Yeah.
plate, and it was excellent, and won some money to go home on.
He did. He won a lot of money, and some of the silver buckle players who are the upper level who have already won this event said, boy, we sure are glad he didn't know he could enter all categories.
Yeah,
So-
and then he was one of the acts we took to the Great Plains Theater
Right.
stage, and the
Yeah.
crowd there loved him.
Yeah.
So it's just good. So Mark Munzert, New York.
Yeah.
Past champion.
Been kind of talking to Mark. He tries to plan a trip out this way because he works for an ag company and you know, kind of make the circle, hoping he can come. Yeah, and there's some new folks coming.
I'm flying back to see Uncle Jim in upstate New York in March 22nd, 24th. His birthday, I think, is the weekend before, but we're going to celebrate it on those days. So maybe I'll give Mark a call up there.
There you go. He'd love to hear from you.
Twist his arm a little.
Don't tell him you're the judge foreman this year.
Okay, I am. I don't know if we should announce that right here when people have time to run away.
No, that's Jay Snyder, who's been our judge foreman in the past, got invited a week ahead of Abilene to do a Sonny Hancock Memorial up in Oregon.
Okay.
Well, his son lives up there. So they have planned on a vacation to see their family. So
Well, good for Jay. He's put in a lot of good work for us
Yep.
here in Abilene. So
Yep.
that's a great opportunity for him and
Yeah.
family involved. So, you know, last year I tricked you into doing cowboy poetry. Without Don here, I don't know whether that risk is worth taking this year or not. But, you know, I every time I click on the icon and watch an interview with you or watch some of the content that I've recorded from you, just to remind myself about the communication that cowboy poetry is. And I think about what's going on in the world. So while the relevance of cowboys may be pretty clear to you and me, there's still a lot of cowboys in Kansas, Missouri, New York,
Yep.
everywhere else you want to point your finger. But I had an opportunity to start reading a book by James Sherrill. He wrote about the Chisholm Trail. Lots of people have written about the Chisholm Trail. I mean,
Yeah.
pretty important things. So a lot of people have written about it.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Sherrill, he's a professor at K-State. He has taken the position of looking at the economic threads of the Chisholm Trail and what that meant, not to Abilene, but to the world. And when you think about it, it makes all kinds of sense, but still somebody take the work to document how the eating trends, how this changed the diet in New York City, how this changed zoning in New York City.
Right.
How this spread beef consumption as a practice to common people
Right.
around the world.
Right.
You look at that, and that's all the history of Abilene. That's this event. Those long hours on the trail are where people started to talk to themselves and their
Yep.
horse and the cows and everything else,
That's right.
and put it to rhyme and meter,
Yep.
and came up with telling their stories in a way that would endure.
Right.
So my family heritage, Elizabeth and I's family heritage, the scriptures themselves were passed down through the oral tradition of telling. And it's easier to tell a rhyme than it is a non-rhyme.
Right.
And so many things important to our culture have been put to rhyme and meter. I see this not as level of the scriptures, but this is the rhyme and meter history of America, and it's terrific.
Well, you know, I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of the poetry is, you know, storytelling through experience and things like that, but you talk about the Chisholm Trail in Abilene and how everything branched out and affected the country from coast to coast. So I have just kind of a perspective on
Okay.
that, if you wouldn't mind.
I wouldn't mind at all.
But being a cowboy is an important job and something I don't take too lightly. Some people think it's a simpleton life and our brain can't be too brightly. But a cowboy's job has many aspects, from fence builder to veterinary, wild horse rider and range firefighter, and animal husband extraordinary. If you browse back through history, you'll find it's no mystery that the cowboy has led the way. From the 1800s to the new millennium, the cowboy is here to stay. For it'll be Gene Autry or the great John Wayne who will strike up a conversation, whether in California or in the Midwest or in a New York City train station. Most kids dream of growing up being a cowboy, and I tell you, I've done the same. But I'm a fortunate one. My dream came true, and I ended up riding the range.
Boy, Dawn got you ready to go this morning, didn't she? That's great.
All right.
So I didn't even have to trick you into
That's
that
right.
one, did I?
That's right.
That's cool. So that's what cowboy poetry sounds like. And as I sat here and looked at you as you communicated that to me and the camera, I can see the genuineness of your feeling through those words. And as I know you as a person, that all of that is true.
Yeah.
So that's what cowboy poetry is. And sometimes it's just fun. Sometimes it's just made up funny. Just like any other brand
Right.
of humor, it's just made up funny. But gosh, is it a great way. So on Friday, when we go from about 9 till 4 normally.
Yes.
That's all judged competition.
Right.
All you have to do to participate in the fun of that is to walk in the Shockey and Landis building front door, take a left, go up the stairs, and find you a seat in the air conditioning.
That's right. In August.
Yeah, in August.
And you know what? The price is right.
It is.
It's absolutely free to the public.
Yeah. And you have 4 grandkids you're trying to take to the fair and need a break? My goodness, bring them here. They will all not only enjoy it, but they will get a perspective of education about who we are and how we got here.
You know, my wife describes it pretty well. She says, you know, that's the only event where you can go and laugh and cry and laugh all in about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, the full gamut.
I'm thinking during the way we've arranged the stage in the past, when we get to the humorous thing, I think we ought to make you move your chair off camera, if you will. You're just too close to the fun up there.
Might not be a bad idea.
That's so, you know, when a guy has to hang on to his chair to keep in it
Yeah.
from laughing, that's a thing.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. Just hearing all the different guys and gals and telling their stories, and they're so talented, and they can write and they can recite, and it's just a fun deal.
So I have a relative here, and before the camera came on, I offered you my son. If you want somebody to play and sing, I'll volunteer him, and he'll say yes and go. But so the other night we're sitting around, he's playing and singing, and my
Right.
daughter playing and singing, and my sister-in-law just, wow, this is so wonderful, you know. And it's something that we take for granted because it's in our family history. so many people have never had that. Their entertainment came from that screen over there,
right,
or they bought a ticket somewhere.
Right.
But this is the camaraderie of a group of people who simply gathered together to communicate, share their experiences, and survive from Texas to Kansas.
Yeah.
And then as things went forward, it became an art form that today a lot of people are still carrying forward, and it will change your perspective on fun and entertainment if you come spend an hour and a half.
And you know, this event here is rapidly becoming a nationally known event, and so we're pretty proud of that, and that draws good contestants in. And a friend of mine, Ken Cook from South Dakota, you know, he describes it in a way, he says, you know, I have lots of friends up there, I just haven't met them yet.
Yeah, that's right. Good one. I agree with that. So as we look forward, let's remind people when it is. It's always the first weekend in August, right?
Yep, Friday and Saturday. First weekend in August, right here at the Shockey in Landis, and then cream of the crop show, matinee show on Saturday at the Great Plains Theater.
Yeah, most likely at Great Plains Theater.
All
so
right.
We'll go get that done if we have time today. I want to put a kudos in for John and Mary McDonald, who are letting us set in this place today and let us set in it first weekend in August. Rawhide Portable Corral,
Yep.
Local family. They do great things for the community. We're setting in one of the most visible examples of it.
This is an awesome building, and you know, you talk about the cattle drives and how it affected not only a nation but the surrounding community. And John and Mary, who own Rawhide Portable Corrals and this historic building, also have a ranch called the Deerhorn Ranch, which is south of Junction City, Kansas. Well, the old timers say that they grazed a lot of cattle coming up the trail on the Deerhorn Ranch, and then shipped them on over to Abilene.
Well, if you look back at the photographs of that, and believe it or not, there are some of that end of the Chisholm Trail and this end of the Chisholm Trail. Those old longhorns weighed about 300 or 400 pounds more on this end than they weighed on that end.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Flint Hills grass.
For 90 days in the summer, it's the best grass in the world.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so what fun thing haven't we told people, or what organizational thing? Do we need any help, any of those operational stuff you want to communicate to people?
You know, we got her down pretty well.
Hey, you need a vendor or two.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
The wild rags and
That's
things.
right.
That lady, I would imagine, you know, people that want to pass on some cowboy history and artifacts might be interested in talking to you and Don.
We set up vendors upstairs in the room next to the competition room and get some pretty cool stuff. And so, yeah, we welcome all of that and try to build it bigger and better every year.
And Rocky gonna feed us breakfast if we can talk him into it?
You know, Rocky's still on the fence.
Oh.
He's started branching out, and he's doing chuck wagon at the Cimarron Cowboy gathering and lots of stuff. So he's gonna have to try to fit Abilene in, but I'm gonna twist his arm.
I'm betting he's here. So, he has a lot of fun here.
He does.
Okay. So Rocky, he's one of the contestants.
Right.
But he still gets up on Saturday morning and cooks chuck wagon breakfast for all the people who just want to show up.
That's right. And he's a good chuck wagon cook, and anybody who's ever done anything like that knows how hard a job that really is. And but he dives right in there and does it. So.
And last year he learned that his gravy portions last year were way better planned than the year before.
Right.
Because Abileners evidently like gravy.
You know, one thing about the old chuck wagon cook coming up the trail with the Cowboys, he knows how many people's in his crew.
That's right. It's hard to say here.
Yeah, you never know who's going to show
Really,
up.
Last year, some people walked up and they're standing there, and I said, "You going to have breakfast?" "Oh, isn't this just for the contestants?" I said, "No, it's for people coming in too. If there's enough to eat, you're welcome to eat it."
Yeah.
And we had people sit down and have breakfast with us last year.
Yep.
Well, I know we're out of time because Dave, it's not peace to you, brother Glenn. That's 2 minutes, and he
All
did
right.
that a minute 45 ago. So we're right down to it. Thanks for coming.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me.
We'll do this again, mid-spring, something like that. We'll talk a little bit more. We'll make sure people know about the National Cowboy Poetry Rodeo, first weekend in August, right here at the Shockey and Landis Building, Abilene, Kansas, America.
I'd like to thank you, Dennis and Eagle, for being a part of it.
We're happy to help. This is probably one of the most fun things I get to do and help our community grow.
Awesome.
All right. I'm Dennis Weiss, work for Eagle Communication. Glenn Dawson, National Cowboy Poetry Rodeo. He's Dad Glenn sitting right over there.
That's right.
Wishing you a great day.